Hey guys, welcome back to another video. It's your boy Az, and today I'm going to be talking about some major red flags that you want to avoid in your CV. Also, I'm going to be showing the exact CV that I use that helped me land a software engineering role at Accenture. Before I proceed, I just want to say thank you for all the love and support that you've been showing us. Make sure you hit the like button, make sure you hit subscribe, and also comment down on what you want to see in future videos. But yeah, let's get straight to it. Now, having a good CV is very important. When you show a recruiter a CV, that is the first impression that they'll see of you, and you really want to make a good first impression. So there are some major red flags that you really want to avoid. One major red flag is having a CV longer than 2 pages. When you apply for a company, they're going through hundreds, if not thousands of CVs, and if they see that your CV is longer than 2 pages, most likely they're just going to put it in the reject pile. So you really want to avoid this. You might have good experience, you might have good education, good certification. However, you want to put that in 2 pages maximum. Some companies, especially in the finance sector, may say, oh, we only want to see a 1-page CV. So watch out for that in the job description. One other major red flag that you really want to avoid is having all these fancy colors and fancy formatting. Now, the reason why I say that is because if you apply for a large company that has probably hundreds of thousands of CVs, they're going to do something which is called round clearing. So round one is where they will use a computer to scan through your CV and see if you have the job description matched. So they're going to look for keywords, and if you have all these fancy colors and formatting, the computer will really struggle, and sometimes they might omit it, even if you have it in the actual CV. One other major red flag is having no extracurriculum activities. Now, when you have no curriculum activities out of work, it really shows the recruiter that you're very one-dimensional. You just focus on work and you have no human side to you. And the recruiter will look at that and think, this is someone that's just really focused on work. We really don't want to add this person to our team. They add nothing to our culture. And this is something that you really want to avoid, otherwise they will just reject you. One other major red flag is having no profile. Now, the reason why I say that is, and this is my personal opinion, is that if you have a profile, it can be 2-3 sentences, nothing really long. It doesn't have to be an essay or personal statement. But if you have something there, it shows to the recruiter what type of person you are. It shows what you're interested in, and it shows obviously what you studied, and it really helps you connect with the recruiter. So now that's all we have for the red flags. Now let's move over to my CV and we're gonna have a look over it. It has some outdated information, obviously, because this is the one that I used that landed me a software engineering role at Accenture. So yeah, let's have a look at it. So one of the major things that we see here first is, if we scroll down, it's 2 pages long. Now this is in correlation with the red flag I said. You really don't want to extend it beyond 2 pages. You really want to keep it clean and short. One other thing as well is, if you look at the formatting, it's quite basic, but there are some splashes of color. However, there's nothing fancy, there's nothing out of this world. But like I said, keep it clean, and it's better to be safe than sorry, especially if you're applying for a major company who uses a computer program to look for specific keywords. Before I proceed, I just want to let you guys know that there might be some extra white space here, Obviously, when I opened it on Edge, some of the formatting acted a bit weird. This is obviously not the final CV that you sent out to other companies. So yeah, if you do see any extra weird spacing or it doesn't look aligned properly, forgive me, but that's how it was when I opened it on Edge. So if we look at the top, you have my name, you have the degree that I studied, so Master of Engineering, Mechanical Engineering. I also added my LinkedIn and some personal information such as my email address and my telephone number. Obviously I had to black this out. We then move over to my profile, and this is what I said. It can be as short as 3 sentences, in which I use here, and you can have a read through, and I'll just mainly talk about what I'm looking for, what knowledge I have, and it's just a way for me to connect to the recruiter. So now we move over to the education section. So in the education section, your latest degree or latest education has to be at the top. So mine obviously here is my Master of Engineering, Mechanical Engineering. I also added my predicted grade. It's obviously predicted because it's an outdated CV, since this is what I used during my master's year when I was applying for companies. I also added some relevant modules. I also added the grade of those modules that I achieved. It's just to give a more thorough background of my degree to the recruiter. So now we move down the CV where I talk about the foundation year that I had. As you can see from my A-levels, I didn't have physics. So to enter mechanical engineering, you need physics. However, Queen Mary said if you do a foundation year, you can then achieve towards a mechanical engineering degree. So that's why that's there. I also included my GCSEs, but obviously as you go along in your professional field, you can sort of scrap the GCSEs and even scrap the A levels and maybe even the foundation year if you want to. So you had more space for your experience or your certifications. But I mainly just added that in there to give more context to the recruiter. Now we move over to one of the biggest parts of the CV, which is the technical skills / projects. Now, this is very important because me personally, I didn't do a year of internship. I didn't do a long 6-month summer internship. So to make up for that lack of experience, I added all my skills and all the projects that I've done. As you see below, I did some form of extra professional work and stuff like that, but it wasn't compared to a year industry. So here is, let's say, the first bullet point where we talk about my dissertation. Now, my dissertation title is Numerical Simulation of Subsonic Hydrogen Jet Flames. I gave you guys my grade. I also talked about roughly what I did in the project. Again, don't do like paragraphs and paragraphs. It's not your abstract. It's just a quick synopsis of what you actually did. And I also mainly talked about, especially in caps, the softwares that I used. So SolidWorks, if you study engineering, you'll know what SolidWorks is. And I also talked about ANSYS, which is a CFD, Computational Fluid Dynamics software that I used. Now we move on to another project. This is another project that I did in I believe in my second year, I think this is the one I did. IMechE Challenge 2018. Again, another software, Creo. This is another version of SolidWorks, but it's a different package. It's another computer-aided design software. I also use Team Gantt to perform Gantt charts for project planning. We move over to another part, Bloomberg Market Concept Certified course. This again shows recruiters that I'm the type of person where in my spare time, I look to always develop myself. So this is an online course that I did through my university. It was just looking at the Bloomberg terminal and to identify key economic indicators. Now we move over to softwares. So we have SolidWorks and ANSYS. This gives a more in-depth detail of what I especially use. So I use mainly SolidWorks to generate CAD, computer-aided design drawings for my burner. And then obviously ANSYS I use to form the mesh and to simulate this in that software. I also added my Microsoft skills that I have, Excel, Word, PowerPoint, also labeled the levels in which I know, so all advanced. I'm sure you guys, if you've used Word, you've used PowerPoint, maybe not Excel that much, but throwing these down in your CV just lets the recruiter know what skills and what level you are at now. This is a really important part, especially if you want to enter a software engineering role and you don't have a computer science background or anything like that. So obviously I came from a mechanical engineering background, but what I did in my spare time is I use websites such as Udemy and Code Academy to learn languages and to make examples of these languages as well. So here we have the Python language, and what my example was is I made a service tax calculator in which that I programmed, and this allowed me to calculate the bill by including the service charge percentage. Now, showing these examples, it shows to the recruiter, okay, this person clearly in their spare time is very interested in software engineering. They want to pursue that route and they're very eager to learn. And this is something that you really want to show to the recruiter because then they're more likely to take you in. So now we move over to MATLAB. MATLAB I used mainly during my time at university. It is sort of a programming language, but it's more towards the engineering field. If you study mechanical engineering or any form of engineering, I'm sure you've used MATLAB. So languages, you can show what languages you know. Make sure you include the level which you know in brackets. I obviously speak English and I speak Bengali. I know it's Bangla, but when I was applying to companies, Bangla is not the option. It's always Bengali. And so yeah, you just want to put that in case, like I said, they use a computer program to grab certain keywords. So maybe language is one of the prerequisites needed. Now we move over to UK driving license status. So I just included this because you might be thinking, why would I include this? Obviously I was at first looking for mechanical engineering roles, and what I found was through my time of applying is A lot of these companies really want you to have a full UK license. Now the reason for that is because if you're in a mechanical engineering role, you're going to be moving from site to site. This may be out of London, and having a car, in which they usually provide, is something that will really help you and the company, because obviously you'll be saving a lot of time. So including your driving license status, it's another, maybe not sometimes another prerequisites in which recruiters will look at and say, okay, cool, he has that, we're more likely to move him forward in the application process. Okay. Now we move over to employment experience. So in employment experience, you might be thinking, oh, why do you include retail? Why would companies want to look at your retail experience? It doesn't add really any value to them. However, you'll be mistaken. As you can see here, there are still some examples of transferable skills that I used during my time in retail and I've developed that I can put towards my software engineering role. So stuff as liaising with management. This is something that you always do in software engineering roles. With it, your Scrum Master or your tech lead or anything like that, you're always liaising with management and you're speaking to them. Customer service skills, communication skills, all of these are transferable skills that you're putting towards let's say if you want to apply for software engineering roles. Just because you learned them during your time in retail doesn't diminish them. Now I move on to another role. So this is a consultancy role that I did through my university, which partnered with JP Morgan. It was a short role, however, I labeled here exactly what I did. And again, it's condensed. You really want to have it condensed because one of the great things is that if they see that on your CV in an interview, they can then ask you to elaborate on more of it. So you can use this as a conversation starter. So you can talk about, especially when you do your STAR technique, you can talk about what you learned during your time in the internship and stuff like that. Now this is one important part of the CV, it's your extracurricular activities. So societies, any sports you do, any buddy schemes, stuff like that. You really want to include this in your CV because it shows to the recruiter that you're not one-dimensional and you have a life outside of work. And if you have a life outside of work, that means you're probably a good, well-rounded person. So you can see here, I was a member of the QMU Judo Society. I attended some sessions, and even if you're not a sporty person, if you look at my second bullet point, you can still add in stuff like I joined the QMUR buddy scheme. So this buddy scheme just helps new first year students ease their transitions from college to university. I was also a active SEMS, which stands for School of Engineering Material Science Ambassador, and I did stuff like campus tours, outreach programs. I promoted QMUO engineering department, and all of these things showed that outside of my time at university, outside of being paid, stuff like that, I usually volunteer my time in these. So if you can show that to the recruiter, it really shows that you're a well-rounded person. So now we have the reference section. Now the reference section is personal opinion, but I believe you should add some references. It only took me 5 to 10 minutes of adding these. Some people might say, oh, you can just say, oh, to be confirmed when requested. However, I just contacted my third year professor here for my dissertation, and I said, hi, can I put you down as my reference? And he gave me permission. He gave me his email and his number, and I did that for my employer, and she gave me her email and number. Make sure you ask for their permission first, otherwise it will be a bit confusing when someone calls them up saying, oh, such and such gave you as a reference, can you explain? And then they'll be like, hold on, when did I give permission for that? So that will make a bad impression. So yeah guys, this is all I have for today. Make sure you hit the like button, make sure you subscribe, make sure you also comment what you want to see in future videos. Also hit the bell icon so you're notified when we release a new video. So yeah guys, I'll see you guys in the next video.